Hello and welcome again to What If Natives Won, a video blogging channel about alternate history and American Indians, Native Americans, Indigenous peoples. This is the 24th video of 28 planned ones. My name is Carroll. I'm Associate Professor of History at Northern Virginia Community College. I've written mostly about wars, veterans, human rights, and genocide. I'm also, together with Rob Schmidt of Bluecorn Comics, editing and putting out a short story collection, What If Natives Won. This is what this video blogging channel are about. There's a huge lack of alternate history written about American Indians, Indigenous peoples. Many people don't like to think about genocides in America. They likely were never taught about them. Many don't want to be reminded, or want to believe these genocides never happened, or that it was somehow an accident. I've had great success using alternate history to teach my students, show them absolutely nothing in history was inevitable. It never had to be. The worst of human history is always a conscious choice. How things turn out is based on how evil the evil choose to be, and how well and how strongly good people choose to stand up to them or stop them. The way things turned out in history took a very specific set of circumstances. Sometimes history can turn on very small things. Change even one, you have an entirely different history, different present, different society. It may be hard to hear this, but we live right now in a dystopian world. One of the worst of all possible outcomes for anyone who is not white. America is today 98% non-native. At least 75 million to 112 million natives were killed by not one genocide, but a series of them. The last of them ending only in the year 2000 in Peru. And also in America, Canada, Guatemala, Argentina, Mexico, and Brazil, as we discussed today. On top of that is massive genocide denial. This is not taught in almost all American schools. There are racist images everywhere that are often not admitted to be racist. But much of this could change if Brazil's military dictatorship ends or is prevented. Above all, Amazon Indian genocide that wiped out 80 tribes and killed over 800,000 could be stopped or limited. Brazil is a nation that, like the U.S., has multiple genocides against natives in its history. The first was the Portuguese invasion and slave trade. The rubber trade in the Amazon from 1880s to 1910s, shown here, was another. The one discussed here is the most recent, from 1950 to 1990, carried out by Brazil's military and mining and cattle rancher militias. Brazil's emperor was overthrown by the military when he abolished slavery. This would not be the last time its military took over. There were popular and leftist revolts in the 1920s. In the 1930s, business, conservatives, and fascists allied with the military, overthrowing a leftist president, Luiz Prestor. Getulio Vargas became dictator, and he or his puppets ruled until the mid-1950s, the fascist Estado Novo, or New State. Vargas made destruction of the Amazon in the name of development a central promise, but so did some liberal presidents under democracy, like Kubitschek, who began building the new capital, Brasilia, and many highways into the rainforest. Both the fascist state and later liberals under democracy decided to further colonize the Amazon, clear-cutting forest for mines, ranching, and cities. FUNAI, or FUNAI, the Brazil state agency that is supposed to protect natives, is under military control. But FUNAI quickly started mass murdering natives, enslaving them, and carrying out mass poisonings and rapes. They also deliberately spread disease, stole land, and even tortured children. In 1964, the military took over Brazil's government again, banning political parties, free speech, free press, and carrying out thousands of tortures and killings. They stayed in power until 1985. Amazon genocide continued. Not exposed until the 1967 scandal of the Figaro Report. In 1979, the government even gave amnesty for murder, torture, and other crimes. U.S. President Jimmy Carter pressured Brazil to restore democracy with his human rights policy. This included blocking Brazil from getting nuclear weapons, setting free dissidents, ending censorship, and allowing demonstrations. Environmentalists worldwide also pressured Brazil to stop deforestation. This included campaigns against companies doing business in Brazil that harmed the Amazon or natives. Native peoples in Brazil formed over 200 civil rights groups at great risk to themselves. Democracy finally returned in 1990. Large parts of the Amazon became native reserves. What could prevent or limit these genocides and dictatorships? There were a series of leftist revolts in Brazil in the 1920s. called the Tenentes, left-wing officers and soldiers shown here. Had any of them won, they carry out reforms that limit the power of business, limit genocide done by cattlemen, miners, militias, and right-wing military. In 1930, Luis Prestes became president, but was overthrown by the military before he could take office. What if he stays president of Brazil? Prestes, over time, became a communist, including an ally of the Soviet Union. It's hard to say if this will end Amazon Indian genocide. A communist state is far from guaranteed to happen, or to protect either natives or the Amazon. The military or others, including the US, may overthrow him later. Even if not, some communist states were very destructive of minorities. Some, like the old Soviet Union, wrecked their environment in the name of development. But if this genocide is exposed sooner, world pressure brings an end to it sooner. If democracy comes to Brazil sooner, genocide ends sooner. One way it could happen much earlier is if Franklin Roosevelt decides to invade Brazil. Getúlio Vargas, shown here with Roosevelt, had a fascist state imitating Mussolini's, with a strong fascist movement, the Integralist. Only the threat of losing U.S. trade and a possible U.S. invasion made Vargas side with the Allies. An American occupation would produce a democracy somewhat like Japan's. Another way would be as if Reagan does not become U.S. president, as discussed in the next video. Genocide ended sooner, far more Brazil's natives surviving, dictatorship ended sooner, democracy sooner. All of these certainly count as native victory. This is the end of the 24th video. I look forward to your comments and questions and will answer them as often as I can. Racism, genocide denial, childish behavior, personal attacks get deleted. But I do recognize some questions will be asked in ignorance because much of the facts I point to are new to most people. They were never taught about this. They've been raised in denial since denying indigenous genocides is taught in almost all public schools. Next time we'll discuss what if Reagan was killed or was never elected. How does this help natives? Please repost freely, subscribe, like, share, and comment. I'll post again in about a week. This has been What If Natives Won video blog and channel.